Hello guys, this is Modest Major here, bringing you some commentary over some Ragnarok CTF gameplay. The score in the background is a 77-0. This is indeed the best score that I've ever gotten on Halo 4. It's against probably the worst players I've ever played on Halo 4, as should be expected. It was a pretty enjoyable game. I basically utilized the saw for the entire game. I didn't really realize just how effective the saw could be on this map until I started picking it up more recently. There's a YouTuber by the name of Writing Rider who used to do these little funtages or montages, I don't know what you'd call them, where he'd basically take the saw on Ragnarok and he'd go absolutely ham. His parents would do this thing where they'd put a family timer on their Xbox, so that like the timer would come up and it would say 15 more minutes left on Xbox, so he'd be like, oh, I've got 15 more minutes to get a gameplay, and then he'd go absolutely ham. And I just realized that the saw was an absolute tank because it's got so much versatility. It can cover long range, it can cover short range, it can do quite a lot of damage to the low level vehicles like the Ghost and the Mongoose, etc. So overall it's a pretty darn good weapon, and you don't really have to put yourself in harm's way too much because it can usually outrange a BR. For the most part, the BR doesn't really have that good range as it is. Its probably weakness is like light rifles and DMRs and people playing the really long range game to it. But even then, I feel like you can take people by surprise, and it's great for like infiltrating the bases and pushing into spawns, etc. I don't really do a lot of that this game because these people are mentally handicapped. They decide to go over the lift about a million times. They know that it's not going to work first time. They know that it's not going to work second time, but I feel like they've just gotten frustrated and given up, and I'm surprised that they stayed in the game for the entire length. I will say that my snipes were not on point for some of this game, as you'll see me choking there and missing that shot about a million times. I'm not sure what really went wrong, but I could have done a lot better sniping for the most part. It didn't feel like a gameplay where I went absolutely off. I just got the scoreline and I thought, meh, you know, I can't not post my best scoreline. I love posting my best scorelines to sort of update the high score, as it were, on the leaderboard. Pretty much. But today I wanted to talk about something on the more positive side of things, because I feel like my last two videos were leaning a bit on the negative side, and I don't really want to base my channel around negativity. I think that's where channels can get boring, and people get like fatigued with gaming, and a lot of the time you think to yourself, you know, why are you making YouTube videos if you don't actually enjoy the games you're playing, or you don't enjoy the scene, you don't enjoy gaming in general? It kind of sends mixed messages to the subscribers. It's like, you know, gaming is a hobby and it should be treated as such, and if it's not being enjoyed as a hobby, then what is it? Like, you know, what are you playing it for? You know, maybe it's a little bit different when someone has like 3 million subscribers and they stop enjoying it. They're making so much money and it's such a great career that even if they dislike it a little bit, it's still a better career than going out and doing manual labor, you know what I mean? But when it comes to like this low level stuff, when I've got like not that many subscribers and I'm not making money and I'm not doing it for the money, it kind of doesn't make sense if I'm not actually enjoying the game. And I do enjoy the game. It's just, you know, I sometimes get a little bit irritated by some of the designs the industry makes. I still think game developers can make incredibly cool products that are enjoyable, that are fun to play, and maybe they just have a few aspects holding it back. But today I wanted to talk about the fact that in the Master Chief Collection, I feel like it's become this like cool thing to say, you know, oh, I'm not going to be touching Halo forever, you know, on the Master Chief Collection. I don't want to go near that thing. It's a joke of a game. I'm done with it. You know, it will never be played. And I will say, I probably won't play Halo 4 in maybe the first 2 weeks. I probably don't see myself going near it. You know, I don't see myself racing to get on it, but that's not necessarily because I think it's a bad game. It's just because I've played it such an obscene amount of time. I think it's the most I've ever played a multiplayer game. I've created several accounts. I've played it a lot with friends, and a lot of people say that this maybe has like one of the lower pools of content. You know, there's not that many 4v4 maps. The custom game settings could be a little bit better. The Forge community isn't that big, so it's not constantly expanding, and plus the developers stopped working on it because, you know, they stopped putting out like Community Forge test playlists, which was something that was giving a lot of flavor and variety to the gameplay experience. They stopped doing that to go work on Master Chief Collection and Halo 5 Guardians because the population just wasn't high enough to continue supporting the game. So in a lot of respects, you know, it's kind of crazy that I did play it as much as I did, and I didn't play it as much as I wouldn't have played it as much as I did if I didn't enjoy the game. I think it's a fantastic game in a lot of aspects. Obviously, it has its problems, but when the Master Chief Collection comes out, you know, a couple of weeks in, I'm going to want to go back on, and I'll probably get a ton of nostalgia for this game, because there are things I absolutely adore about this game. One of the first things that spring to mind is Forge. For example, you know, transitioning the Forge to matchmaking, I thought they did a 10 times better job on the aesthetics of the Forge maps and bringing the Forge maps to life and making them fun to play on. You know, when I played Halo Reach Forge maps, maybe on the BTB side of things, they did a couple things, you know, better. But in terms of the 4v4 arena-sized maps, I way preferred playing them on Halo 4 than Halo Reach. Halo Reach, they felt incredibly tacked on. They felt like they could not equate to an actual proper filled out map, whereas on this game you get stuff like Simplex, you get stuff like Onyx, you get stuff like Dispatch. To me, these are all really memorable maps that I have enjoyed playing and that I have a tremendous amount of fun on, and I really enjoyed that aspect of things. Another thing that comes to mind is the weapons. Some of the power weapons are absolutely incredible on Halo 4. Stuff like the addition of the railgun. I thought it kind of harkened back to the old days of arena shooters when you had railguns in games like Quake, but it had its own unique mechanics. The YY reload and the slowing down, you know, the being able to fire early, to let go of the trigger early, but you would only know that if you understood the game and the railgun intimately. Gave it its own skill curve, and you could basically shoot the railgun like 3 times as fast as you normally would be able to. And once you got used to the auto aim of the gun and the feel of the gun, it could become an absolute powerhouse. And going back to it in the Master Chief Collection, when it's on dedicated servers, when it's 60 FPS, the hit detection will be 10 times better, insurmountably better, because when you play with a railgun on host or on split screen, you realize just how much better it is, and that would be really exciting for me to try out. I also feel the same way about the Forerunner weapons with stuff like the scatter shot. I thought the scatter shot was a really fantastic idea, but just with the connections, it didn't work out, obviously, the way it should. But I absolutely love the aesthetics of the weapon, and I love the fact that weapons would bounce off, and you could be intelligent with it, and you could try and bounce it off of corners. Unfortunately, with the netcode and with the lack of dedicated servers, it could have been utilized better, of course. But I really did like it. I like the changes to a lot of the sniper rifles that were made. Not necessarily the regular sniper rifle, but the beam rifle, the aesthetics of that weapon, the sound design of that weapon. Obviously, pre-patch, it was a little bit too overpowered, of course. But I still thought it was a great weapon and a fun weapon to use. And there's just a lot of that. You know, the saw also, which is sort of like this Tommy gun, which is an absolute powerhouse. I think maybe it could do with a tiny little bit of a tweak, or maybe put it on better maps. I don't think it really works having 2 saws on Ragnarok, just in my opinion. Maybe on BTB, but in terms of CTF, you can absolutely dominate a lobby just by picking this up and by refreshing, you know, picking it up whenever it respawns. I think it's an absolute godsend. So that's another aspect. Then the actual overall aesthetics of Halo 4. I don't think I can really say enough on this. You know, I understand that people say that the contrast of the maps can get a little bit too bright at times, and they maybe need to dim it down and have more color variation. But it took so long for the looks of Halo 4 to wear off, and even some days I get on and I just look at it from a certain perspective and just think, wow, this game is absolutely stunning. I love the chrome nature of Haven and how fantastic it operates, and I don't know, I think it's a great looking game. I can't say enough on that. You know, with the weapon designs, with the actual animations that take place, and the overall game just feels very smooth, and you know, I feel like the looks of it enhance the experience tenfold. Then you've got the maps themselves. Now, I'm not going to say that this had the best maps, because of course it didn't. In a lot of ways, there were a lot of drawbacks to the maps themselves. But some of the maps on this game I absolutely thoroughly enjoyed, and I honestly hope that I see remakes. Haven is kind of like the guardian of this game. I think, you know, Lurker Zero made a commentary on his appreciation of Haven, and I couldn't echo his thoughts more. I think it's an absolutely exceptional map. And definitely, you know, it deserves the credit it gets. I think people get frustrated with it because it comes up so often on matchmaking, and it's repeated so regularly. You see gameplays of it on YouTube every 2 seconds. You see custom lobbies where Haven comes up again and again and again because it is one of the best 4v4 maps out there. But I also like maps like Simplex. I thought Simplex had a really unique approach to the matchmaking. experience where you had like the color-coded locations of the map, which made it a lot easier for newer players to pick up the gameplay of it, because it was very branched out. I really like the power weapon selections on that map, also stuff like the railgun, the overshield being top middle, and being able to make the spring jump to top middle. Spring jump is another mechanic that I absolutely adored in Halo 4, something that I thought was a bit too overcomplicated at first, and I was like, oh, I don't know if I like that. I feel like it is only going to detract from the matchmaking, but then I realized it was just yet another movement option, and movement options are fantastic in these kind of games. And it's kind of made me realize that, you know, in future games like Halo 5 Guardians, it's kind of made me more open-minded to exploiting these new movement mechanics before anyone else does, because I took a really long time to utilize spring jump, and then I started noticing in custom lobbies people were getting places that they shouldn't have been able to with it, and they were, you know, kind of besting me in a lot of opportunities, a lot of situations. And yeah, it's something I'm definitely going to jump on top of. Also, the usage of the thruster pack in Halo 4 is something I absolutely adore, and I've always said, you know, Halo games need a little bit more movement options, and adding in the thruster pack was a inspired idea, I think. It's a shame some of the other armor abilities made the whole idea and notion of armor abilities seem, you know, like imbalanced and frustrating. But the thruster pack, you know, if it was on its own in Halo 4, if Halo 4 didn't have armor abilities, but they did have the thruster pack, I don't think anyone would have complained half as much. I think there would have been a lot more positivity towards the game overall, and it's kind of a shame that such a small, you know, like, that such frustrating aspects as the jetpack and the invis had to detract from the overall presence of armor abilities, even though some of them were enjoyable, such as the regen. The regen is something I absolutely enjoyed for the first 3 months. Got a little bit bored of it because I used it too much, but it changed the way I played the game. It allowed me to be more aggressive and gave me a better understanding of Halo 4's gameplay mechanics, of how to push, because at the beginning of Halo 4 I thought pushing in this game was really, really difficult, and regen was kind of a opportunity for me to get back on my feet, to get out of situations where my health would just go too low, and think, oh yeah, okay, I can reapproach this situation, get round the corner, get regen, and I'm not getting team shotted, not getting absolutely destroyed, not being put in a corner. And something feels so epic about getting out the situation and mind gaming someone by making them think, oh, he's definitely dead, he's 100% dead, he's one shot, and then you put up the regen, you come back around the corner, and it's like, yo, you didn't think I had regen, did you, mofo? And so many players couldn't use the regen, and I think there was something really, really, you know, enjoyable for me, is like having a full understanding and appreciation for that gameplay mechanic before a lot of other people did. It was enjoyable. I still think the thruster pack's better, but it was a great mechanic within Halo 4. So sorry if I go a bit rambly at times in this commentary, but I just wanted to bring across the fact that, you know, I'm not going to see Halo 4 and absolutely cringe at the mere sight of it, at the mere, you know, inclusion of it. I prefer Halo 4 to Halo Reach in an absolute ton of ways. It was always the better game for me, and I wouldn't trade my memories with Halo 4 for the world. I think I've had some of the best gaming memories, largely in part thanks to the community, because the community of Halo 4 was absolutely incredible. The best community I've been a part of, hands down, and it's just been a great time for me, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. I'm looking forward to Halo 5 Guardians to create more memories, and to hopefully have a more refined experience in a lot of ways, and maybe take some of the fun aspects of Halo 4 and mesh them together to make them more balanced, but still fun, and still retain that excitement that Halo 4 brought to the table. Anyway, I've been Modest Major. Thank you for watching. Peace out, guys.